Russ, this is great to have you here. You're doing so many great things.
My joy. Thanks for having me.
And aside from the fact of having an incredible playing career of what you do, you really have the business side so professional and so well balanced, and then the family side too that is very unique.
Thank you.
And that's something what the sessions is about kind of laying the groundwork for this next generation to hear and see and learn about what skills they need to develop.
Right.
You're doing them all.
Well, yeah. When the bills stop coming, I'll stop doing it. No, it's a joy. All of them are their own challenge.
Yeah.
Big challenges.
Yeah.
And they require different skill sets.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a joy. I like it. I think if I did, sometimes I wish I just did one thing.
Yeah.
I talked to Steve Smith about this. Sometimes
Yeah.
I just wish I was in the band, and then other times I go, I'd get bored.
Yeah.
Doing that. So it's a balance. But
wait, that's the kind of personality you have. You have that diverse need for, it's almost like entrepreneurialism on top of everything, you know?
Yeah.
Where did it begin for you? Where did music and drumming start for you in the early days?
I grew up in Ohio, and I started at 8 years old. I started taking lessons. I've never stopped. I've taken lessons now for 39 years. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, which is amazing because I'm only 25. No, I started when I was 8, and I started playing guitar, but I think it took me about 6 months to learn the theme to Batman. So I thought, I think I'll pass on that. My cousin played the drums. A friend of mine down the street played the drums. I thought it was really interesting, and I really credit my grandfather, who's still alive. He's going to be 96. An amazing music enthusiast. He played the drums for a minute. Of course, depression and impoverished, couldn't have a drum set, He listened to music constantly. So when I was a kid, I actually started playing with Buddy and Gene and Louie and those records. I was playing along with those records, and I didn't realize that it wasn't cool until I got in high school and went, girls don't like big band music. They like rock and roll, so, but I started playing jazz and big band because of being around him.
Yeah.
And then got into contemporary music, when I was in high school. Played in everything you could play in high school. I was very lucky in those areas of the country, music education in that period, you're talking about late 70s, early 80s, it was real strong.
Right.
And we had wind ensemble and band and jazz band and big band and marching band, and I did everything, and marched with the drum corps, the Canton Blue Coats Drum Corps, which was one of the top 12 DCI drum corps. And
wow.
Did all that, and then at 18, left Ohio and went to the University of Miami. And then, of course, studied there with Steve Rucker, who's still teaching there.
Still there,
yeah,
absolutely. Steve's great.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then I stayed in Miami and worked with, people that were based out of that area, a lot of those artists.
Yeah.
And then moved to Los Angeles in '95.
Right.
And I've been here for 22 years.
That's amazing.
And
That's amazing.
I'm going to tell you a quick story. You didn't ask me, but this is a great story for people to know.
Yeah.
I did a lot in Miami. I played with a lot of people, major artists.
Yeah.
I had books published by that time. I had deals with Yamaha,
Absolutely,
blah, blah, blah. Had a nice little house, had the whole thing. And when I was going to move to LA, I just picked it all up, sold everything, and I put a drum set and a bunch of CDs and some clothes in a red van, and I just drove across the country by myself. And I moved into Third Encore, which is a rehearsal facility.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with it,
Absolutely.
where bands rehearse, but they also have storage closets there where everybody puts all their big anvil cases and they store gear.
Right.
Steve Edelson, who was the artist relations director for Yamaha at the time, and so he goes, I got something for you. So I said, what's that? He goes, this is what you're going to do. You're going to move into one of the closets in Third Encore, and you're going to live there until you figure out what's going to happen here in LA. So I moved into an 8x10 closet. Now this is it's a closet, man. It's a closet. And it's got one electrical plug, and I moved and I brought in my drums. I got a hot plate and a microwave. I joined Gold's Gym so I could go shower in the morning, and brush your teeth and whatnot. And I lived in this 8x10 closet at Third Encore for almost 14 months.
Oh my God.
And I would drive around and I went to see Vinny at Le Cafe.
Yeah.
And I sat beside Vinny. People don't understand the level of playing of some of these guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've been blessed. I've been around you. I've been around all the greats. in my life, but to see these guys in person, YouTube doesn't get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to sit beside Vinny Colaiuta.
Absolutely.
Where he's where you're at, and I remember the first time I saw that, going, oh man, like, you got to be this good to make it. Like, this is I'm in bed, and I just practiced and started to take lessons, and I did that for 14 months. So that's what it took for me to get engrossed into the LA thing, and 22 years later.
But you were passionate enough. You persevered, and you were willing to work hard. Those are important qualities to have to make this machine move forward.
Yeah, and finishing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a key one.
Absolutely.
Finishing. A lot of people can start things,
Yeah.
but not finish. And that's been a big key for me, is always seeing things through to the end. And if you could take something on, I finish it and I deliver it. You can count on it. We're going to do this project, and we got Russ, and bam, at the end, you actually physically have it, and it's that's a big thing. Finishing is a big thing.
But I remember a quality you always had when I met you when you were young, when you came to one of my clinics. I mean,
you were my second drum clinic. I told Roy Burns yesterday. He was my first. You were my second. I was 12 years old. I don't want to make you feel old.
Oh, I'm there.
But we are old.
That's exactly right. I'm there. But it's amazing. You asked questions. You were there. You were listening. You were attentive at a very young age. So that shows passion at the earliest roots of who you are.
Yeah.
Where do you think that came from? Was it musically in your family, or?
There was no music influence in my family other than my grandfather just listening to it all the time.
Yeah.
But I was really drawn to it, and I felt like music presented so many opportunities, that other things didn't. And quickly, I was in high school, and computers were just starting.
Yeah,
I mean, the personal ones where you could actually have a computer.
Word processor.
Yeah, so I always loved, and it's turned out to be now with all the things that I do with instrument design, I always loved mechanical engineering. So I can literally draw real blueprints. I took mechanical engineering for 5 years, and I took finished carpentry, just as a hobby, just because I liked it. But it's all come to fruition now because, like with Mapex,
you're designing products.
We're doing all these consulting things for design. But I was in drafting class, and our drafting class was the first. They were kind of testing computers used in drafting.
Wow.
Hadn't really been done before.
Wow.
So there's a roller bearing company where I grew up. They invented the roller bearing. So in comes this company in my senior year, and they say, you kids got a year on this computer. We haven't even seen these things yet. We want to offer you all a job. Everyone in the class a job, full time. I remember it paid $30,000 a year for an 18-year-old kid. I'm going, are you kidding me? In 1985? Yeah. And everybody in the class took the job. And I said, no, I'm going to be a famous drummer. And of course, everybody went, what are you, an idiot?
Nice talking to you.
What are you, an idiot? And, they all took the job, and they were all driving Corvettes the next year or whatever was happening. But
you stayed true to your passion.
Guess what?
Yeah. You made it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that in the journey. So after these months of living in the closet, literally, what kind of brought you out of the closet? Then that question has a lot of. So what took you out of that closet into the real life world of playing?
Well, I started to meet enough guys in LA and started to work. And one of the things that I've always done, I moved 3 times in my life from Ohio, and then I went to Florida and came here. Yeah. But I got into the casual scene.
Right.
And a lot of guys and young kids might not understand that. We know what that is.
Weddings and private parties, exactly.
Corporate
country
things.
clubs.
Well, what's great about that was these offices here, they would put bands together.
Right.
And now we're in Los Angeles. So when a band gets put together in Los Angeles, Bruce Conti's from Tower Powers on guitar, and the musical director for Kenny Loggins is playing piano. And, so you're meeting all these guys. And my goal was always, and I tell this to students all the time, I said, my goal is, when I go to a gig, I got hired by that band leader, which is great. So first off, I got to do a great job so he hires me again. Right. But my goal is that everybody on that band hires me from that point forward. Right. And if that doesn't happen, I failed.
Interesting.
I failed.
That's a great perspective.
And if that happens, you grow a tree of guys from every gig, from everything. This guy starts to call. Now he's calling. Now the band leader's still calling. And then, and that starts to grow. And then you end up with a huge client base that fills the calendar. That's the challenge, And I actually did this, I think for the column I do in Modern Drummer. I think I traced back one of my Grammy Awards through that tree back to a jazz gig at Magic Mountain in an amusement park. Right? Because I went, okay, I got this gig because of this guy, and then this guy called me, and then he gave me to this film composer, and then we did this, and this engineer heard me, and all the way up to, like, you know, Record of the Year, Grammy.
That is amazing.
And that's the way it works.
That's networking at its best.
That's what it's about.
At its best, it really is.
Yeah.
You mentioned the articles of Modern Drummer. You took over a role of Roy Burns that you have taken now, what I call into the 21st century. You have got great advice. There's just great educational, information you can pull from those articles. How do you prepare for the articles when you're writing those?
They're all based upon just situations that I've either been in or are currently in.
Yeah.
And I'll stop and go, this is probably a good one for the article. Some of them are good and some of them are bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all based upon situations that I've been in my career, and things that I see that I try to make sure that I express. That's the concepts column, so it's not necessarily about specific playing things.
Right,
it's
right.
always about stuff kind of surrounding playing.
Right.
So I want to make sure that I give information away that, like for instance, you've gained information that few people can have. I've done that because we're afforded that at the position in our career, be it playing at the highest level with other musicians, or being, I'm friends with Steve Gadd, I'm friends with Steve Smith. I've stood in a room with Roy Haynes and Elvin Jones, and and we got information that it's not easy to get.
Absolutely.
And I think it's our responsibility to give that to the younger generation.
Absolutely.
I mean, if Roy and Elvin didn't give it to me or Gadd or anybody else, I wouldn't have it. Or you or anybody else.
You seeked it out. You got it real time, as we did. We got real time with these people living with us. That's why you said on the internet it's a little difficult to learn to play an instrument through the internet and through YouTube or what they're doing, because it's not going to give you that real passionate feeling of the soul of that person.
Yeah.
That's what you got.
Well, I did, and the communication isn't translated through media.
Yeah.
Communication is translated through being and communicating with someone.
Right.
And that's it. When you're in a room, the communication of that musician with the audience and how that interaction happens, and seeing the sheer power of the drummer and the finesse. And part of it is, I feel like a drummer's feel is a part of their personality, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like if the guy has a great feel, I almost like him as a person more.
Really?
Because it feels like he's expressing something to me that I'm getting in my heart and mind, and I'm like, I like this guy. I don't know how to express.
Well, but that's the depth of art. In all art, whether it's paintings, you can sense the kind of person as they come out to their art.
Right.
The amount of people that you have performed with and continue to perform with is absolutely amazing. The list is so long.
Thank you.
How you balance that, Russ, and how you have always maintained a high level of performance in every situation is absolutely admirable. It's amazing.
Thank
you. It really is amazing. But your professionalism is also equally at a very high standard. How do you balance the business of all this here to make it all going?
Well, I wrote an article in the magazine called "The Balance of Artistry versus Commerce," and I always saw this as you're starting your own business. I mean, you're a self-employed business owner,
right?
And you have to balance that. If you're you could be Buddy Rich, you could be Vinnie Colaiuta. If you're in your basement in Minnesota and nobody knows it, then
it doesn't matter.
It is what it is. Your mom loves you, and that's it. But you have to look at it like, what does a business do? I mean, it manufactures a product, hopefully a good product, and certainly good enough to buy it and rebuy it.
Right.
So you don't have one sale and then gone.
Right.
And that's very important for us because I need to keep getting higher. There's not that many jobs.
Absolutely.
And then you got to market it, and then you got to continue to develop it. You can't warm your hands on your own legend. I don't like that. For me, it's not like, yes, I got Grammy Awards or big records and hit songs from the year 2000, but I'm not trying to go around play those 17 years later. Like, right. I got something else to say 17 years later, That's why I still study with Erskine and, all those kind of things, because I'm trying to say, like, I still have things to say that I can't say yet.
Right, right.
So I want to get that out. But
so it's like reinventing to a certain degree.
Yeah. But there's that balance of going, I have to, and obviously the older you get, you also have to finance your life.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the issue with the YouTube thing and whatnot, is that there's no finance behind it.
Right.
Even the most successful, most viewed things, the finance is so low.
Yeah.
You know, Travis Barker, I think we figured out, he's got this absurd amount of views.
Millions.
Right, but collectively has paid about $80,000 total. You know, which is, you know, for Travis Barker, it's nothing. Right? And but for any of us it's fine for half a year or something, but it's certainly not going to live a lifetime on it.
Absolutely.
And this is like hundreds and hundreds of millions of, so there's no finance behind that. There's a tiny bit, but certainly not enough to live on. So at the end of the day, this business is still based upon performance and the execution of playing and or, you know, writing, publishing, maybe making an instrument or whatever. And you gotta balance it. You can't get over the meter on either one. If it's way too artistic, you won't live. You know, if it's way too commercial, now you're overselling something. You know, it's almost like you're over pitching or overselling something. Check out how amazing this is, but then when you actually see it, it's not that amazing.
Absolutely.
And that's the big thing, is creating, you never want to create a negative experience. And that's a basic business principle, right? Like,
absolutely.
You have a negative, you go to a hotel, you have a negative experience, you never come back.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's always, Steve Smith and I have talked about this, it's, my motto is give way more than what's expected. Way more. Not even close to what they expect. Like where they go, holy mackerel. Like, I thought this was going to happen, and 5 levels above that happened.
That's a sale.
And you will always get called back. You know, it's basic business. You know, if you do exactly what's expected, 50-50 chance. You don't do what's expected, you're not coming back.
It's all over.
We know. So that's
but there's a balance in the business and commercial side. There's a balance in the artistic side. Then there's a balance in the personal side. To have a relationship, to be married. A family. There's a whole other side with that too. This is a lot of juggling going on.
It's difficult. It's difficult with the family, and you know what? Between you and I've made decisions in my career that to stay around my daughter. There's been a lot of things that I could have done that I didn't do that would have taken me away a lot. And I always loved recording. So for me, recording was what I wanted to do anyway. I loved that when I had a great day at work, it lasted forever, right? Because you'd kill it at the gig, and it was like the only people that knows about this are there's 3 people left at 4 in the morning, and you're like, this is the best solo I've ever played in my life. I got 3 people seeing, one's drunk, one's not listening, you know, one's talking to his girlfriend. But you know, when you record, it's there forever. I love that, and I love that process. So I was afforded. You know, between playing on American Idol for a minute and then, of course, my session career, I was afforded an opportunity to stay in LA a lot and be around my little girl. And, you know, now she's 9. You know, I got a little bit longer. When she gets a little older, I can maybe move a little bit when Dad's not fun anymore or cool anymore.
And that happens sooner than later, unfortunately, because it goes by so fast. But the fact that you chose to be there in her formative years, this is a very powerful decision that you made. And it's beautiful because, you know, you have got an incredible family. You've still got the balance of your business. You're playing better than I've ever seen you play before in your life. You're at the top of your game.
Thank you.
So to balance all this here, this is spinning plates at the highest level.
Yeah, it's tiring, Dom. I've been tired for 20 years. My wife goes, you could sleep anywhere. I'm like, I've been tired for 20 years. You don't understand.
But we have done things globally together, and I'm always amazed, as I said, the highest quality that you're at as you do this here, and the books that you've done, and all the different, you've got all this stuff going on. I mean, this next generation that comes up has to understand the hard work.
It's a tremendous amount of work. Christine, my wife, her uncle is Mike Holmgren, the NFL coach. He was a coach of the Packers and Seattle Seahawks. So I love the NFL. I love football. And I would ask Mike all these questions about the football players. And you know, one of the things he said to me, there was a couple things. One, he said that the teams look at the NFL with a 2% variance. The best team in the league is 2% better than the worst team in the league. All right, so what that means is that everybody's operating at 98% or above. So you can imagine what level of competition is happening. Just the slightest slip takes you from, you know, being in the playoffs or the Super Bowl to, you know, at the bottom of the list.
Bottom of the list,
He told me about guys that got injured, that were running the 50-yard dash in 4.3. They bad sprain, and it went to 4.6. Well, now he can't get around that corner quite like he did.
Yeah.
He's on the bench. Or the one that knocked me out was they won't miss a workout because just that one day of not working out brings them down a small percentile, and now they can't compete at that level. Mm. So I'm no less serious about what I do than Tom Brady is about what he makes more money at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I'm no less serious about my life, my job, my artistry, my family. And, I want to encourage people that, you got to keep your foot on the gas because there's somebody that does have the foot on the gas. And I want to do things well. I think that, that's the most important thing.
That comes from a personal desire. That comes from your principles, your ethics, your values. That's incredible. In closing, what would you say to a younger generation that's watching this, and they might be watching this, soon or 10 to 15, 20 years later? What would you say about just the industry or their passion and what you've done to maintain this level of intensity?
Well, first off, you have to be Italian.
Which is amazing, all the drummers are Italian,
It's
right?
totally amazing. We were talking about that earlier. Not many people know that I'm all Italian because my father was adopted, so Miller is not my actual real name, but all Italian.
That's amazing.
But, the situation is this. The world's attention span is getting shorter.
Right.
So that is the worst thing that can happen to artistry because art deserves attention. Yeah. So you cannot acquire what it takes to execute this at a high level quickly. I mean, you're a better player than when I saw you when I was 12 years old. Yeah. Everybody gets better. There's certain things that you just cannot gain by 15 years old,
right,
or you cannot gain by 20 years old.
Right.
And everybody always says the more you know, the less you know, kind of thing. I want to encourage them that it takes a long time, and it takes an effort, and it takes a dedication, and it's okay for all of those things. Yeah. And one of the things that I love about music, and I think people just need to recognize that they're doing it, they just don't know, is that there's short-term and long-term goals. And what's great about music is there's so many short-term goal achievements. I want to play this beat, I can't, but by next week I can. Right. Yes, you want to be a famous drummer, or yes, you want to have a big house or a pretty wife, or all those things for me are byproducts of a skill set. Right. They were never the focus. All I want to do is play the drums. Right. That's all I ever wanted to do. I get aggravated when I can't play. If I have too much business stuff going on, it aggravates me.
It throws the balance off.
I just want to be at the drums. That's all I want to do. It's all a skill set. Dave Weckl told me years ago, you're making some money, don't go crazy. Don't buy the fancy car. Don't do this. It'll all happen. Just keep playing. Yeah. Just keep playing. Steve Smith told me years ago, stay here. Yeah. You're going to see guys drop off left and right. And we all have guys that were in the business, they're not in the business.
Absolutely.
And it's just a product of staying focused, doing what I intended to do in the first place when I said, I don't want that job. I'm going to be a famous drummer. I just want to play drums, and if you love the instrument and you have to play, you keep the dedication, you keep the focus, and you understand the balance between that business and the artistry. You're starting your own business, be smart about it, do what businesses do. On the other hand, make sure the product is the best it can possibly be. Those key components, that's it. I know everybody wants to know, call this guy and he's going to hook it all up for you.
There's no little short path. It really comes down to that hard work.
But you're never going to meet the same people at the same time.
Absolutely.
It's all a different thing.
Absolutely.
But those core things are what's going to make it happen.
But you really have mastered that networking. You've mastered the high-level professionals. You've mastered the high skills of the instrument. You've mastered the high skills of communication. All of that is something that you put your mind to it. You stayed steadfast with it, from the early days and how you have progressed and how you continue to progress. That really, your life is the example of where people must see and learn from.
Well, thank you. But
for that.
well, look, I'm a little kid from a steel town in Ohio, and I'm sitting here with you in Los Angeles. So if I can do it, they can do it.
Absolutely. Well, this is more my pleasure, believe it or not, but for sure.
Oh,
But
come on.
I thank you so much on behalf of the Sessions, Russ. You are an absolute gem in this business. You're a great, great guy. I love you so much. Thank you so much for your hard work and your talent, and just keep it going.
My honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much.